So welcome to our webinar today, guys. We're glad to have you here. I believe everyone, or quite a few of you this is the second part for you guys. You guys were in attendance at our first part on identifying wastefulness in your shop. So we're excited to see you again. And we're gonna have some more great information and really kind of button up this identifying wastefulness segment in talking about the 8 wastes in continuous improvement and lean manufacturing. So that's what we'll be covering today. And we've got a couple of, I've got a couple of co-hosts with me, and really I'm their co-host. They're going to be running the show. But we've got Dale Hedges, who is a chair for the DMA, the HVAC Duct Manufacturers Association, or excuse me, the Alliance, which is what we are a part of here. Dale is a chair, has been for a number of years, and has helped a lot of companies become more successful by implementing continuous improvement in their organizations. We also have Brady Cook, who is a newcomer on the HVAC Duct Manufacturers Alliance team. Brady has a decade plus of lean and continuous improvement experience, and he's coming on board as a future chair and co-presenter with us as well. So I was just doing some math here before we got our webinar started, and we've got at least 5 decades of lean and continuous improvement experience here just between the 3 of us. So we're really excited to share some of that knowledge with you. And we hope that that's something that's of interest to you and your companies moving forward, because what we've found is lean and continuous improvement is revolutionary in the HVAC industry. And it's something that's just now starting to make inroads. You know, if you subscribe to the Snips magazine, you're starting to see a couple more articles on continuous improvement or lean. It's becoming a little bit more prevalent in our industry, and really the companies that are glomming onto this idea and running with it are having huge success. And so it's really a great opportunity to get in on the ground floor of this concept that is going to eventually perpetuate and permeate our entire industry. So if you're thinking lean now, congratulations, you are on the cutting edge, and you are giving yourself and your company a huge advantage. And so we want to help you guys in that journey by helping you learn how to identify wastefulness in your duct shop. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Dale, Brady, before I get started, anything you guys want to say?
No.
Okay.
You covered it all, bro.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, we're going to get into this here, guys. And before we do, we always like to open up with a couple of questions. And I just want to preface this by saying, this webinar is intended to be interactive. We want you guys to participate and ask questions, barge in there with your ideas, your thoughts, your questions, your disagreement, whatever it is, we can handle it. But if we are talking at you for an hour, we have failed. So we want you guys interacting. Go ahead and participate. And we want to start that by asking you guys this question: who in the room has heard of lean and continuous improvement? I got to believe most of you have. Either you've been with us already or you've been in a previous webinar. So has everyone here heard of lean manufacturing and continuous improvement?
Yes, I have. We have.
Kevin has, I know that.
Yeah, we're big into continuous improvement at CDI.
Awesome.
Right about our core values. You know, we just drive it every day. All employees, every section of the business, continuous improvement.
Excellent. That is fantastic. Congratulations. That's a great position to be in. So I'm glad to hear you guys are making that a priority in your business. So who can give me a really brief description of what continuous improvement is?
I mean, for us, continuous improvement can be different for everybody, but for us, it's just finding something that's not working great and making it better, or finding a way to make it more efficient, or finding a way to satisfy your customer a little bit more. But it's really just kind of looking at issues and picking them apart and making some changes. We're really big on continuous improvement. We're not as big on like lean, but I personally really enjoy lean. And then that's a little bit more like structured and strategic towards continuous improvement. But really we just focus on, hey, if something is hard or something is not going right, let's dig into it and find an easier way or a different approach.
I love it. That's a fantastic description. And sorry, I'm sorry, are you Nick or are you Joe?
Nick.
Okay, Nick, great. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, that is a fantastic description. And I love the first thing that you said is taking a look at things and trying to make them better. And I think that is a fantastic description of continuous improvement and what the purpose is, whether it's better for our employees, it's better for ourselves, or it's better for our customers, like you mentioned as well. Those are all great facets of continuous improvement. And the fact of the matter is, we know with continuous improvement that everything can be improved upon, even if it's really good. And all three of you companies, you are all good at producing ductwork. This is what you do. This is your livelihood, and you've all been at it for a while. Or in the case of CDI, really good at making curbs. So you guys are good at what you do, but you have a desire to get better. So that is the continuous improvement mindset for sure. And that's great to see with you guys. And I also like what you said about the distinction between CI and lean manufacturing and really having more of that structure. We're all about both. So the real organic improvements and then the structure and really making it a cultural pillar in your business. So great answer. Thank you, Nick. And this one is for the people who were in our last webinar is, did you try the exercise from our last webinar? Does anybody remember what that exercise was?
Yeah, the waste block.
Yeah.
And the scavenger hunt.
Yes.
I guess, yeah. So it was a waste scavenger hunt, but we kind of like incorporated into like just a daily, like a walk.
Awesome.
So we have it, and we didn't like do it. I didn't do it personally, but it's something we want to incorporate into like our plant managers and supervisors roles. Is what I did do is I met with my role. So my role is a continuous improvement manager. So I meet with like the plant managers and supervisors often about issues. And what I did do over the past month was really focus on some of these meetings on, hey, what is waste, teaching them about waste and efficiency, and then put it on their, lap to say, oh yeah, we have this, this, and this, and kind of had them make some changes from it. But we do want to incorporate what you guys had there. That scavenger hunt's a really awesome idea.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear how you're taking it and running with it and making it even better. You're continuously improving what we gave you. I mean, that's terrific. You're making it fit you.
Joe Long did it with his group too. He probably did a little better than me, but he's an overachiever. What can I say?
That's all right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, great, you guys. Anybody else? Did anyone else take a crack at it? Kevin, I don't know if you were.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of that, but I did go through and get caught up on. I watched it on the video, and yeah, that's something we do that stuff all the time. There's the one thing you'll find is there's almost waste in every single process. That there's always something that you can clean up or improve on. So they're neat to do. And then just with the different guys kind of in and out and stuff, it's always interesting to see what they view as a potential waste and stuff, and just kind of collaborate and put your heads together. So
Yeah, I can attest that Kevin and his team are always finding, the waste of transportation, inventory, waiting, and overprocessing, which was the 4 wastes we talked about last week. But these guys are always on it. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for sharing with us what you've been doing with this. If you haven't done it yet, I encourage you to do it. And after this webinar, we will email you both last month's homework and the homework for this month to do that waste scavenger hunt. And we'll have all 4 wastes from today on the new one. So if you are not using those, I highly recommend it. And I also recommend you do it yourself. Even if you're giving it to somebody, take the time to do it yourself. It's always good to get out in the shop. And when you take that extra minute where you don't have 10 things on your plate and you're just doing the one thing, boy, you can really see some new things and new improvements to make. So awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. This is really exciting. Well, we're going to get into this here, and I'm going to pass it over to Dale to tell us a little bit more about what continuous improvement is and give us a brief overview. So Dale, take it away.
Thanks. So, one of the things that we really focus on is just utilizing various principles that we find in the duct shop environment, and we have really taken a approach that blends many principles together to create a structured improvement process. And this is why we kind of say we cracked the code. We're taking some of the proven practices of lean and making it part of the continuous improvement model for shops, for duct shops. And if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see where we've taken this. You know, we haven't created something brand new. We're using trusted principles that have been proven over time, including, you know, common sense. But, you know, what we really focus on is getting a good sense, sound judgment with a group of people, of like-minded people working on the same problems. And that's the idea behind the continuous improvement common sense. And that's where the power of us comes in. I don't know if you noticed our logo, the us at the end of continuous improvement. That is the power that we bring together when we do it as a team. That's where that power comes from. It's not singular, even though there's singular work to be done. It's also done as a power of the group. So next slide, if you would. So, you know, we take these best practices from of course, the auto industry where it was kind of birthed, but also the electronics industry, the medical industry, which is really huge on lean and continuous improvement these days, system development, program development, computer programming development, aerospace. I mean, all of these different industries are finding ways of creating the best practice for continuous improvement. And that's why we have taken those and as duct builders, we have created a structure that is for duct builders. And so that's for us, the key to our continuous improvement is you know, being that you know, that resource for others. So that is the wrap up of continuous improvement.
Awesome. And I will say, as much as we all have a lot of experience in continuous improvement between the three of us, we also have a lot of experience in HVAC, decades. And so we've all been in other industries as well, from manufacturing, high tech, you name it. And so we've taken everything we've learned and worked it out in a duct shop and learned how to make it work for the people in our industry. So we're pretty excited about what we have to offer here, and hope you are as well. So let's get into the meat of our webinar today, which is identifying waste. And this is part 2. So if you did not see part 1, we will be sending you all a link to part 1 and part 2 in an email where you can go back and watch that and then review this one as well. But let's get into identifying waste. And before I learn how to identify waste specifically, let's just talk about what waste is very briefly, because I know we've got some experts in the room here. So I'm not gonna go over this in great detail, but we'll just give you a brief overview of what waste means and what waste is, what we call waste in a continuous improvement organization. So the work of continuous improvement is to learn to see waste and work daily to eliminate it. That is continuous improvement in a nutshell. That's the one-liner. If you were going to ask somebody, what is continuous improvement? Well, you learn to see waste and you work daily to eliminate it. That's what the work of continuous improvement is. So if we want to get good at that, we have to learn how to identify waste, and we have to learn how to improve our processes to reduce that waste and eliminate it from our work. So before we can reduce waste, we have to know what it looks like, and we need to develop our lean eyes. So I love this little image right here. We need to learn how to see that little poop emoji. And our goal for today is we're going to give you guys a new set of corrective lenses to see your operation differently, to see your work and your facility and your desk and your desktop. You know, we want you to see that all in a new light and be able to identify where waste and inefficiencies are so that you can take common sense steps to eliminate those from your processes and work better. So that's what our goal is with learning to see waste. We want to give you a new set of lenses so you can identify it more quickly. And before we move on to the actual waste, we want to define what waste is. So I like to define waste as uselessness. That's actually the Japanese word for waste is muda. And the literal translation of the word muda is uselessness. And so when we talk about waste, we're talking about things that consume more resources than needed. That's useless. A waste that doesn't add value to the customer. If they're coming to us for a curb or for some spiral duct, that's what they want. And so how we get it to them is on us. And in that process of how we serve the customer, there's a lot of things that don't add value. That's uselessness. That's waste. Waste is anything that gets in the way of our work. So if we're constantly reaching for things, if we're constantly having to walk long distances, search for tools, reprint paperwork, whatever it may be, those things get in the way of our work. They're useless, they don't serve the customer, and they are waste. A couple other ways that waste shows up are an unevenness. If you've got big ups and downs, you have a lot of waste in that. And by learning to identify waste and working to reduce it, you can make those big ups and downs into small little wiggles. And that's what we want to do. Less variability, because variability is waste. And then overburden is another one. So if you are asking too much of a person, too much of a machine, too much of a department, and that person or machine or department is overloaded, then that creates waste. It creates scrambling, stress, whatever it may be, and creates a bottleneck and creates waste. And so those are the ways in which we define waste. But there's a couple other ways that we define it, and really they drop into about 8 different categories. And I'll just go over those very briefly. We have the waste of transportation, which is moving things around. We have the waste of inventory, which is not knowing how much inventory you have, having too much, not having enough of stock. That creates waste. Motion, which is moving yourself around. So it's a little different. We have the waste of waiting, whether that be customers, machines, employees, whatever it may be, waiting is waste. We have the waste of overproduction, when you produce or make too much, or you buy too much of something, and it creates a lot of other waste. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. We also have overprocessing. When you have too many steps, your processes are too complicated. That's waste. When you have the waste of defects, this one is really simple. Dents and scratches, mistakes, those are waste. And then finally, the most sinful waste of all is the waste of unused potential. Making ourselves or our employees or our customers work against waste that we are generating. That's the worst. So today we're going to focus on these 4. We're going to talk about the waste of motion, defects, overproduction, and unused potential. And I am going to pass it over to Brady to walk us through our first one. So Brady, take it away.
All right, so the first waste we're going to talk about is motion, and that is basically just the unnecessary movement of people. So it's walking from machine to machine, or searching for tools or paperwork, reaching, picking up tools again and again. And I was preparing for this webinar, and I was like, what am I going to talk about for motion? And I was at home, I had just eaten dinner. I'd put down a piece of paper to write on because I'm old-fashioned, and for the love of everything that was holy, I could not find a pen. I'd gone through the house. I had opened every single drawer, popped open cupboards, lifted every couch cushion. I was laying on the floor, looking under the couch to see where that stupid pen was, and I could not find it anywhere. So I had to get in my car. I had to drive 5 minutes to write it. I bought a couple of pens, transported them home, and finally, after about 35 minutes, I was able to start writing down notes for this talk, which I didn't really have to do because I just lived the example of wasted motion. So we have a quick video clip coming up. Let's shout out the waste if you can see it here.
All right. Hey, go ahead and unmute, and you guys can shout live as you see the waste of motion.
Well, he's got all his tools all over the place, it seems like.
So he's reaching for all of his tools.
And he's walking a great distance from.
Yeah. So he is walking all over the shop, and he's just wasting motion to get to his next destination. And this video is actually, it's a great example of a waste of motion, but it's also a great example of the waste of transportation. So the waste of motion is moving people, and the waste of transportation is actually moving things. So In the beginning of the video, he was picking up tools, he was moving stuff around. He finally formed his flex connector, and he's walking through the shop, and he's actually transporting that piece to the next step of the process. So there's waste there as he's picking up the tools, moving stuff around, and then this whole last half of the video is just waste. There's no value being added to this process. Is there anything else you guys see?
Yeah, just a lot of moving, you know, like getting those stations closer, moving that machine somewhere else, getting this table right over there. That'd be our first step for sure.
Yeah, very good. Anything you want to add, Graham or Dale?
I'll just say, so I actually helped these guys do this. I helped these guys do this study, and they're to build this. This is a flex connector here. To build this initially, I think it took them about 12 minutes. We got this process down to under 3 for them. I think about 2 minutes and 16 seconds by doing some of those things that Joe and Nick that you guys suggested. So think about that, taking your process from 12 minutes down to 2.5. That's such a huge cut. And how often do we do these things? Do we fight against these wastes and not even realize it? And so understanding the waste really helps you see those inefficiencies. And not only how many times has he done it today, but how many years have they operated like this? When you think about that, that's thousands of hours left on the table that we could be productive. So good example. All right, Brady, back to you.
I believe we're passing it off to Dale for defects.
Okay. All right. Let me jump ahead here.
So I think we went over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next defect is, I'm sorry, the next waste that we want to talk about is defects. And really that's, if you really boil it down, it's about the waste of mistakes. And you can see the list here. I'm going to venture to say that every operation, especially in manufacturing and production, has experienced this type of stuff. In the HVAC world, there is an amount of scrap, but we're talking about the scrap created by mistakes, right? Because there's times where you build something and it's the wrong spec, and now you have to scrap the whole thing. Just a lot of waste in that. And so, we've got so many things that can cause us to create damage. And we've got an example here in this video. And I'm just gonna run it, and then we're gonna talk about what you guys see from the standpoint of defects here. So roll tape.
It's yeah, damage ends for sure.
Yeah, damage. And when you look at this, we talked about the other waste last week, or last time we met, I should say, is the inventory. You've got this level of inventory, but it's the bottom part that's damaged. And what do you guys think is causing that damage that you see right there?
It sits
They're
too
not
long on the shelf.
cycling through it. Yeah, they're not doing the first in, first out. And so that stuff's always down there. They're probably only pulling off the top 2 layers all the time.
Yeah, Jennifer, that's a good call. This part of the inventory is just in case, right? And that just in case scenario hasn't happened for a long time, it appears. And so things start to get damaged. And if you were to run your finger on the inside, there'd be a lot of dust on there, also indicating that it's been there a long time. So how do you think we could reduce the amount of damage that's being shown here?
Well, one way you could do is just look at a little bit of your historical data. If you're doing this on the just in case, how many do you actually, what's the worst week that you ever had where you needed how many, and then what's on a normal average, and just figure out how many do you actually need to have on hand. And then also some racking would be nice, put it on if you know that you need to have, you need to have your worst case scenario all the time because it happens somewhat frequently and you need to have 30, then have a space available for 30 where you can actually cycle through them and do, like I said, that first in, first out, and make sure that you don't have stuff sitting there getting dusty
Right.
and damaged.
Yeah. Kevin, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just to her point as well, is just to maybe adjust your min max quantities based off of what you're actually using.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what the group did. They started looking at what their normal usage was, and that's where they discovered that the bottom rows were just for those 1 and 2 times a year where they had this big spike, right? And they were able to reduce the inventory and do a daily replenish. Before this, they wouldn't replenish on a daily basis, which would cause the inventory to be higher. So by reducing their inventory, replenishing on a daily basis, they pretty much eliminated all of the defects that you see here. So yeah, very cool.
Well, that
All
gives you
right.
the ability to modify your bin or your cart where you could get two separate sizes in that same space and decreasing your footprint overall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can think of all sorts of scenarios where you could create something where, back to Jen's comment about first in, first out, where you supply on the back side of the rack and you pull from the front side of the rack, and you're always pushing forward and pulling from the front, and that way you're always keeping the inventory moving and not collecting dust. So yeah, great stuff.
Can I jump in? Can I tail off what Kevin said real quick?
Sure.
I think that's so powerful, is saying, reduce your footprint. I've never been in a fab shop where they said, man, I just have way too much space, darn it. I've never experienced that in all my years in this industry. And so you think about that, how much of your space is being taken up by things that don't pay the rent, right? And this is a great example of that. And so you can really see how the wastes feed off of each other. And you have the waste of the defects here because you had too much inventory, right? And you overproduced that. So you got overproduction, and now you got overprocessing because you're going to have to sort through this, throw it away, wipe down the stuff you can use because it's old and dirty. You've got all 8 wastes at play in this one little video right here. And then so much unused potential, which we're going to talk about in a minute, just like what Kevin is bringing up. So that's a great point, Kevin. Are we ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, Brady.
All right, so we're gonna talk about overproduction, which is just making too much of a product or material. So it's making more than what is needed, or before it's needed, or when you run out and you're like, crap, I'm never gonna do that again, and you buy extra. And overproduction can drive all the other waste. It's the mama muda, or the mother of all waste. So in the example that Dale just had, we overproduced a bunch of spiral pipe. So we had to pay a guy to run the machine. We had to put it on some sort of cart, transport it over to somewhere in the warehouse. It's in inventory, so now it's taking up space. We got to pay somebody to count it. And then there's defects. And those defects cause our people to have to pull it all out, overprocess it, fix what we can, throw it in the trash if we can't fix it. And people are wasting motion. And ultimately, when we have these defects and all this other stuff is in play, our customers are waiting. So instead of delivering value right when they need it, we're sifting through defects and we're fixing stuff and we're running through the shop trying to figure out why we don't have enough pipe ready. And we're making the people who do pay the rent suffer and wait while we build what they need. So overproduction is the mother of all waste. Everything can stem from just the overproduction of our items. Plus, all of our raw materials are tied up in stuff that people haven't actually requested or wanted. So we do have another quick video. Let's see what you guys can point out in this video.
Nice hand modeling, Graham.
Thank you.
Been sitting there for a while.
We've got like an 1/8 inch of dust sitting on this fitting that we've pushed through the shop. We've done all the paperwork. We've produced it. We moved it somewhere, and it is just sat for, it looks like it could be years. So we have just wasted time, material, energy, rack space, warehouse space, And it's just a little damper sitting there for months and months and months, and it's not adding any value to the company.
So I'll say when I used to visit this shop at least once a month, and every time I was there, I would scratch the date with my finger in the dust on this fitting. and there was at least 6 months of my dates before the fitting went missing. So it was overproduced.
One of the other things to add on to that is if you do cycle counting. So if you've already wasted, you've overproduced and you do cycle counting, now you're continuing to waste not only from your shop floor space, but from adding someone's time, because even though we're not building any more of it, you're still counting it every week or every month or whenever you do your cycle count. So you're continuing to waste on those things if you do cycle counting.
Great point.
Yeah, very good point.
Great point.
Great segue into our final waste.
Yeah,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah. The last one is unused potential. And, can I just say, for many years, it was the 7 waste. And this 8th waste was realized, many years ago. But to me, it's the greatest one. It's the most, if I may be a little bit transparent, it's kind of heartbreaking from a leader standpoint that we have to deal with the unused potential of our team members. Every time I think about this, I think about a time many, many years ago. I was working with a group and we were doing lean improvements. And I was talking to one of the operators and he just had this smile. It was kind of weird. And so I said, hey, but what's going on? How's things going? He says, I'm just loving my job. And I'm okay, great, right? And he went on to explain that before we started doing these lean improvements, he really didn't like coming to work and all of that. And now that he's engaged with this team effort of getting work, making work easier for him, that he found himself actually looking forward to coming to work. And that just kind of hit me that what he was tapping into was his creativity, his ingenuity, and the process of making things better. And that's what made his work interesting to him. And if you just think about it, if our team members are constantly having to deal with a process that's full of waste and they're struggling and it's just not taking efficient amount of time, then they can't spend time using their creativity or their ingenuity. They're just pushing the buttons to get the product out, right? So as we work through these other 7 wastes and reducing that waste in the process, we're freeing up our teams and our team members to providing more creativity and more ingenuity on making their job better. And as we've said, just getting a little bit better every day, the 2-second lean improvement model, just getting a little bit better every day, just grows and grows and grows until you've got huge improvements across the board. And so, we really want to continue to drive those 7 wastes down so that we can increase the potential of our team members. And that's the idea behind that.
Yeah, Dale, I like what you said here with the creativity, because I never have thought about that, but it's, when you're at work 8, 10, 12 hours a day and you don't get challenged or you don't get to use creativity, then it can get dull and boring. And that's when you start looking for something different.
Yeah.
But, even if a company took an initiative to channel people's creativity, you do that through continuous improvement a lot of times, but just how can I get this person to be creative in what he's doing? I think you'd get a lot more like engagement and better morale and stuff like that. I like that.
I think a way that the leadership can help with that, one of our core values is fun, so we do a lot of weird stuff here, but one of the things that you can do it from a leadership standpoint is talk more about what the company's focus is. what kind of continuous improvement things are you really working on as a company right now? And put that out there. One of the things we did last month is we're really heavily focused on our scrap right now. We have a really high scrap rate. So we did a scrap wrap contest. We have 5 different locations and they all put together rap videos on scrap, and it's hilarious actually. And we did a contest for them and they all did it.
Wow.
It was really awesome. But doing things like that, because even if they didn't participate in the video, they all saw the videos, all these 5 different videos, and we didn't do the videos, they did them. So, hey, what they got from it was, this is important, pay attention to this right now.
Right.
So
That is so awesome to hear.
I'd like to see those videos.
Yeah, yeah.
I can send them to you, they're pretty awesome.
Please do.
Yeah. Please do. I'd love to see those and just kind of celebrate with you guys on just seeing the effects of allowing your team to get creative and to use ingenuity and working together. We're kind of wired to do things together. So to pull a team together and have them work on this stuff is just empowering and energizing for a lot of people. So yeah, very cool. Very cool.
I think too, real quick, just the change in environment, if they see, everyone on the floor sees that it's a top-down kind of engaged activity that we're all participating in, it just that the difference in the space that they're working in, it kind of helps open up their minds to that this is okay. It's okay. It's, and that's one of the ruts that we run into, is everything is efficiencies and hour based, and sometimes we get kind of programmed to just go. But if our team feels like this is welcomed and it's okay to communicate these ideas and improvement suggestions, then I think it just helps everybody kind of communicate as a whole for that objective of getting better together. So
yeah,
I like seeing that in our shop. It's just everybody kind of putting their heads together and working together to come up with little ideas that make the biggest impact. So
yeah. And Kevin, you bring up a great point that in many cultures, in many business cultures, you can't make mistakes. You can't be, you can't do errors. But in a lot of creativity and ingenuity improvements, you're experimenting, and it's okay to fail, if you will, in the experiment, because now you know one way of not doing that process or that improvement, right? And so you start building that culture of it's okay to experiment, it's okay to try new things, it's okay to reach beyond the outside the box type of stuff. Then that's where you get your creativity and your ingenuity pumped up, right? Because that culture is feeding that. So thanks. Well, that's a really great point. Thanks, Kevin.
yeah, of course.
One other thing I'd like to tie on to this waste of unused potential is our workforce is changing these days. Most of you have probably noticed this running businesses. One, it's hard to get people to find people to hire. 2, it's hard to get people to stick around. And there's been a lot of studies on this. And I personally believe that unused potential is a huge reason why people leave companies and don't stick around. So if you think about it, if we spend 8 hours a day at work, that's 1/3 of our life is spent at work. 1/3 of our life is spent in bed, and the other 1/3 of our life is spent getting ready for bed, getting ready to go to work, or doing the things that we enjoy. It's really the smallest part of our day. And so you think about it, one of the biggest parts of our day, we are asking people to bring it and to produce. But if we're causing them to work against waste, we're not getting their potential, and they're not sticking around. They're not engaged. And when you think about the millennial workforce or the Gen Z workforce coming on, yes, pay is important, but something to be a part of is almost equally important. And it's something that a lot of companies miss out on. And when you talk about retaining talent, giving people something to be a part of that's bigger than themselves is a huge and intangible that continuous improvement provides. It provides them with an opportunity to be creative, to bring themselves to work and be appreciated. And it provides stability for the company as well. So this is the greatest sin. But if you understand this and you work to reduce unused potential, it can be your greatest ally. So really, really heavy hitter here. Okay, so Dale, I'll pass it back to you. That's it for our 8 wastes. So Dale.
Yeah, so just want to open it up. We've talked about the 4 of the 8 wastes today, big hitters today. You guys got any questions?
So I guess one of the questions I had is not directly related to what we talked about here, but so what are you guys, what company do you work for? Are you consulting with other companies, or do you work at these other companies that you're helping with improvements?
So I can answer that question. So we are the HVAC Duct Manufacturers Alliance, and we're an organization that helps duct manufacturers and adjacent companies adopt continuous improvement into their cultures. And so we are, I guess you could call us consultants, but and I'm going to talk about this in a minute because I can't do one of these and not give a little pitch. But what we do is we teach continuous improvement. We run peer mastermind groups. We do one-on-one coaching with leadership. And what we have developed is a really effective system for continuous improvement for the HVAC industry that's very specific to that. So there's 101 different recipes on how to do lean out there. And this is what we talked about in the beginning, is what we feel like we've really cracked the code because we found something that really sticks and is practical for HVAC, because there's a lot of methods and a lot of things that aren't. And it's really easy to drown in all the tools and TED Talks and white papers and videos that are out there. We refine it down, keep it simple, and keep it 100% applicable for HVAC. So that's what we do. We don't work in HVAC companies. We work alongside. We're not employed by HVAC companies, although we all have been. And yeah, we exist to serve and help companies get better.
So being that you've had a lot of exposure to different type of companies and stuff, the 2 things, I mean, we're decent at it. A lot of companies probably decent at it, but what would be a suggestion for implementing a change, and then a suggestion for sustaining change? I think if time is a constraint, I'd be more curious about the sustainment. What things do you guys do to help sustain that change?
I can talk to that a little bit. I think, first of all, going back to what I talked about earlier, the power of us and that common sense. Of the 3 of us that are hosting today, I can soundly say that I've had the most experience because I've been around a lot longer.
Better than ours.
And so I have seen it from, when the Toyota production system first hit the American coast and started to infiltrate into American business all the way to today. And I can tell you that when you have a standalone process of changing a culture for lean, that's when things really bog down to kind of like what Graham was talking about, where you get really stodgy with all of the tools and the techniques, and you got to do it this way and you got to do it that way. And what I have seen over the years, as you start working together, and this is what I love about the Alliance, we have different shops working together in our mastermind groups, and we're bouncing ideas and strategies and methods off of each other, and we're finding the best case for each group. It doesn't mean that we make every group do the exact same thing. We don't. Each group determines what's the best thing for them, but they've got all of this creativity being created by talking to other groups. So that to me is the power of the group, and that's how I would initiate change with that. And so sustainability just comes with accountability. Again, we bring that to the group as a mastermind group. We have accountability to each other as a team to work through those problems and get them online. And then we do audits. In fact, in one group we just went back to our very first project, which was over a year ago, and did an audit on it. And hallelujah, everybody was within 10 seconds of their improved process. But if we didn't audit it, we wouldn't have known that, right? So yeah, so I think that's the power, and that's what I'm really passionate about, is bringing teams together to do this together. So.
And I, if you guys don't mind, I mean, I can jump in and add to that too. So, with far as the sustainability and how we can make sure that our people are staying consistent with these process improvements. And I mean, this is, I think, going on my 21st year in the industry, and it's always been, you know, we would always hear things about continuous improvement, lean, and well, how are we ever going to get this group of people? Because nobody likes change, and a lot of times the older guys are set in their ways. But the nice thing that I do like about it is the consistency of it. And being a part of, you know, the DMA and these other groups, it's almost like a support system of all the guys you find out, all the other team members, the companies. It's real easy to just spitball ideas, and because our problems, and the other part of it too is there's that sense of like the issues and stuff that we struggle with in our facility. Oh wow, that's the same issues and struggles that some guy on the other end of the country is dealing with as well. You know, these are my experiences, here's their experiences, and just having that team to kind of kick ideas off of, that makes it so much easier. And then as far as the sustainability, you know, there's an excellent library of resources as far as templates. There's, you know, what we do for us is we study it, we hone the process, we create a work instruction, and then we implement that to each fabrication team or whatever, and then that makes it easier for my production manager, my shop foreman, to kind of make his rounds. And we do process audits on a weekly basis just to make sure that, you know, complacency is one of the biggest things. We're all humans and we kind of digress over time, but if we have the work instructions and all the resources on the floor, visual aids, we use a lot of visual aids, it just makes it so much easier to help our team and our crews just stay consistent with the process changes. Because I mean, Dale and I have talked about it in the past too. It's like, all right, how do I get these guys to stay on board with this years down the road? Well, there's templates, there's documentation, there's a lot of tools that are available to us that we can help make it easier. And that's one of the things that I think is huge for us, is because that was a big challenge for me personally, just is how do I get these guys to stay on board with this and keep it kind of fresh. And I was surprised to see that, yeah, we did a recent spiral head change audit, and we were very close to the time we had a year ago. So that's it works, you know, it helps. So
yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
mm-hmm.
And Nick, I'm sure that probably raised a half dozen more questions for you, but I think I might cover some of those in just a second here as we go on. But are there any other questions? Ryan, any questions from you, my man, or Kevin?
Not really. Just kind of taking it all in. I've never been in any of the continuous improvement, and I'm actually pretty new here at Plenum's, so just trying to take it all in and don't really have much to say because I don't have.
Just being a sponge. You're just being a sponge. Just soaking it all in. All right. Love it.
Okay.
And by the way, can I just put it, the team at Plenum's is off the charts. You guys are really diving in head first, just like Kevin's team. You guys are just diving in head first into this lean and continuous improvement change. So it's awesome to see.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the questions, and thanks for all your wonderful insights today. It's been great to be with you guys, and we love working with people who are excited about continuous improvement, are hungry for knowledge, and are wanting to get better. And one of the things that can really help you guys do that is this next piece of homework, which we're doing part 2 of our waste scavenger hunt, which I will email to you all after our meeting today. So you will get to practice identifying the 4 wastes you learned today in your facility, whether that be an office, a fab shop, a warehouse, whatever it may be. So we'll give you this sheet, and your task is to identify the waste as it occurs in your shop. So we want real examples of waste. Now, what we don't want is for you to solve it. So keep in mind, we're talking about identifying waste today. So that'll be your task, is to, when you see unused potential, write a little note. When you see the waste of motion, write a little note. And when you see a defect, write a little note. So we want to be able to identify those things. And I know you will see that and you will say, well, why is he doing it this way? Or what if we did this and this and this? That's wrong. That's not how I trained you. All of those are next step conversations. The whole point here is to just identify, because what we find is when you get good at identification, that allows room for common sense to come in and provide some good quality solutions on how to get better. We're also going to encourage you guys to share your results back to us. So you will receive a personal email from our team. Reply back if you want. Send a scan or snap a picture and send that in to us. We'd love to give you some feedback and talk further. So, but this is a fantastic exercise for you guys and your organization. All right, guys, and I'm going to wrap up real quick. We are coming in to the top of the hour here. And I want to tell you a little bit more about the Alliance, the HVAC Manufacturers Alliance. And we exist to help you guys get better. That's really what we do. And so we all have experience in HVAC, in continuous improvement, and we've seen a lot of ways in which it doesn't work and a lot of ways in which it does work. And so what we decided to do was pull together all the ways in which it does work, simplify it down, and make something that any company could apply and sustain moving forward. And so we use CI training. We can do on-site training. We do peer mastermind groups where we get multiple companies together to share ideas and keep each other accountable. We do one-on-one coaching with leadership to help sustain movements and talk about next steps and plan and set goals and work towards getting better. And our goal is to empower owners and management and employees to get better and to make their companies better and their jobs better and their opportunities better and distance themselves from the competition. So that's why we exist, is to help folks like you get better. That's our goal. And everybody wins with this model. We get better products, shorter lead times, better bottom line, better profitability, better growth prospects, and better opportunities for employees, better pay, something to be a part of, right? That's what we're excited about and what we believe we can help you achieve through the power of continuous improvement. And we can help you revolutionize your manufacturing. That's really our goal. So I want to talk about our next offering here, guys, which, Nick, when you asked your questions, I was like, oh boy, you're going to like this slide in about 5 minutes. And so our next webinar will be centered around this idea of creating CI culture, but with the subtopic of leading your organization through change. So Nick, what you talked about with how do you sustain these improvements, that is a common thing that comes up. And that's something that we as the Duct Manufacturers Alliance, that's kind of our calling card. That's our thing that we're really good at. So like I said, there's a lot of organizations out there that will give you tools, and we'll give you tools as well, but we will only probably give you 4 or 5 tools, and we'll keep them extremely simple so that you can apply them easily and more often. We don't want to overwhelm you with tools and spreadsheets and metrics and tasks to do. We want to simplify and give you less things to focus on so that you can focus on them more often and do them more deliberately. And that's what we find really helps with organizations who are wanting to make a change and make change stick. So our next webinar is going to be May 6th. It's going to be the same time as this one. That's a Thursday as well. So same time, same place, May 6th. And we will start talking about how you as a leader lead your organization through change, through adopting continuous improvement, and how you help make it stick. So that'll be our next piece. And like I said, this is what the DMA is really good at. There are a lot of other teaching methods fall flat. We are good at helping things stick and giving you the tools to inspire your people to want to follow you. So that's what we're going to be talking about May 6th. You guys will all receive emails like you have been where you can register for that. And we hope to see you all there, and tell your friends, because this is going to be a good one and will be an ongoing series. So that is our next offering, guys. And with that, that is it. So thank you all so much for coming. Brady, Dale, I'm going to pass it back to you guys for any closing comments.
I would just say thanks for coming, and feel free to reach out to us. We'd love, this is stuff that we love talking about.
We do.
It's our passion, right? So feel free to reach out and talk to us and ask questions, whatever. We're here to help.
Brady?
I'll second what Dale says and just thank you guys so much for coming out. Yeah, joining us.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks
Guys.
a lot.
All right. Expect some emails from us, and we'll talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of your day and be lean.
All right, take care.
We'll
Bye.
see you.